Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg defended President Biden's border policies. Watch this, please.
We can do a Washington blame game all day, and you can tell there's some folks in the Capitol who would rather do that than roll up their sleeves and solve the problem. But anybody who opens their mouth about this issue should first have to explain, any politician should first have to explain why they stood in the way of a border bill that could be passed tomorrow and the president would sign it.
Should he take executive action knowing that's not going to happen?
Well, he's taking executive action right now and will continually reassess what needs to be done based on the law and based on facts on the ground.
Okay, Cochise County, Arizona, the sheriff thereof, Mark Dannels, joins me now. Sheriff, Buttigieg says Biden is taking executive action now. What executive action have you actually seen, Sheriff?
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me. Let's go back 3.5 years. When President Biden took office, he made a handful of executive decisions to declare the southwest border a non-emergency and reverse pretty much every project, every program that President Trump had in office that opened up the border. Simply put, he incentivized the border with his executive plans and decisions. That's where we're at today. And since that time, we've had no prioritization, we've had no will, we've had no engagement, and that's why we have an incentivized border that's open.
He has not put in place any new executive actions, even though he knows that the bipartisan, so-called bipartisan bill on the border will not pass. He's not done anything recently, has he, in the last week or so?
Oh, he has not, and that's where the frustration. But it goes back to the will. He doesn't have the will to secure the border.
True.
He has the power of the people under Title VIII, which says if you come across the border illegally, this is already an existing law. That's why Border Patrol is so upset their agents. You're immediately expelled. He has chosen to set that aside too. So when Pete makes that comment about, this is the blame game, take some responsibility. The difference between us on the ground working down here is we hold 51% of the majority of Congress responsible and the White House. He's a paid advertisement for President Biden, so he's not going to say anything about his boss. He needs to accept that. Problem is, President Biden owns this first, Congress owns it second.
A federal court has blocked the administration from diverting $1.4 billion away from border wall construction. Sheriff, I think the judge is quite right here. I'm sure you'll agree with me. But so what? You can't make Biden build the wall, can you?
No, and here's the thing. That just goes back to the collective thoughts that we're talking about here is it's just another attempt by this president, who's been very open with it, to open up this border. So it all goes into a domino effect that, yes, he wants an open border. It's all about immigration first, America second.
You are the sheriff of Cochise County, Arizona. I'm not quite sure where that is in relation to the border, but describe the migrant situation in your county. What are you seeing?
Well, I'll just say this. We've had 44% of all the people in my jail are border-related crimes. These are state crimes up to murder. We're seeing tragedy after tragedy. And I keep saying this, that every day that Congress and the White House, President Biden, diverts their responsibility and leadership to protect this country, life is changed in a negative way. And America's sheriffs, national sheriffs, we have stood on top of this, trying to get some changes. This president refuses to engage with us and our communities. That's why we're having the problems, because the problem's not getting better. It's a slippery slope.
He wants an open border. He just wants to increase the flow and improve the flow. Am I right?
That's correct. You are exactly right on that. And you look at that bill that so many people as Pete talked about, that we didn't support. That was a bill that was put under under the word trust. Trust is not on the table in our communities with this administration and 51% of Congress. That's why that didn't pass, and they didn't engage sheriffs in this country.
Sheriff Mark Dannels, Cochise County, Arizona. Thanks very much for telling us how it is, how it really is. Thanks, Sheriff. We'll see you again real soon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.